Thank you all. And thanks to Norwegian for inviting me. I've been invited here to give you a crash course in the metaverse and my perspectives on your business, which can be interesting because I think you have the knowledge. So let's kick it off. What is the metaverse? Well, 30 years ago, Neil Stephenson wrote the science fiction novel Snow Crash, and he coined the concept of the metaverse as an immersed virtual reality where the people in his book could meet and exchange and express themselves. And it's now almost exactly 30 years on where we have the technology to actually realize his imagination, his vision. There are many definitions of the metaverse. There's not a settled definition. But to put it simple, while you have this behind me, I want you to compare it to the different stages of the internet. The first internet we experienced in the end of the 90s was something that we could get into and look for information and read information. That was Web 1. Web 2 came a couple of years later, where we could start to interact. Social media. We started to interact, and that's the version we see today that has developed. User-generated content, crap or not, it's there. People enjoy it. So what we're entering into now is what a lot of people call Web 3, or the metaverse may also be looked upon as the future internet. And what is happening there? Well, from looking at the screen, from looking at the iPad, your telephone, or your laptop, we will now enter into the experience. And that is also often referred to as immersive experience. Immersive is something that raises the stakes, which even more exciting experience. But in this context, it also means that you enter into a three-dimensional world experience. So if we're talking about the impact that this vision will have, we should expect that it will impact whole of society on the micro and micro levels, to us as individuals or professionals, to companies, to governments and organizations, and all across different sectors. And enabling are the technology. We're talking about XR technologies, and what is XR technologies? Well, that are different alternatives of reality technology. So we're talking about virtual reality, where we are totally encompassed in the world. We're talking about augmented reality, where we have information on top of the real world that we're seeing, for tourist information, for traffic, traveling, culture experiences, guiding in Rome, at Forum, or what have you. And then we have mixed reality, where you not just get information in the augmented reality, but you blend the physical world with the augmented or virtual reality, so you can actually transfer objects in your real world into a virtual world. It gets scanned, and an exact copy of it you'll experience in your virtual world. But there are also other enabling technologies, and I'd like specifically to mention blockchains, NFTs, artificial intelligence, machine learning. I'll say something about blockchain. That is what will make the economy in the metaverse. Blockchain technology ensures that this phone is my phone and it can't be copied being something else. And what does that mean? Well, it means that things in the metaverse will get a value because it's not replicable. We'll get back to that a bit. And also the hardware combined with software. It should be convenient and it should have enough computing power, and it creates your avatar. If you look at the moving picture here, Those are about 1 year old from Reality Labs in Meta, where they develop applications and hardware for entering into the metaverse. And what we're seeing here, these are avatars, perfect avatars of the real people using their headsets. And what you see now is that the headsets identifies every movement in the face. And actually 2 days ago, there was Meta Connect, where Meta revealed that they're now finished with it. They presented a new Oculus headset, much smoother, easier. They called it Pro because it's high level and quite costly. It costs a little bit more than the most expensive iPhone, about 18,000 Norwegian NOKs, but it's mainly for professional use. And what they also revealed is, which I thought would be further down the road, but already now they will introduce in the market that you use your phone to scan your face, your head from different angles, and you use it for a couple of seconds or minutes to do different facial expressions, and that is what you end up with. So you will be able to interact with your friends, other people, business contacts as yourself. So the question is, are you ready? Do you need to be ready? Or is it just a hype? And I can tell you now that you don't need to be ready. That was awkward, and it was a lie. We'll see. Let's look a little bit, before we're coming back to that question, let's look a little bit more on what is actually happening now. Already now we see a lot of established worlds, different worlds in the metaverse. The creators of these worlds do it for the consumers. They do it for other businesses to enter into their worlds, to offer their goods and services, experiences. So there is already many worlds, more than this as well. And we see that brands are entering into the metaverse to be present. Brands all over different sectors. Walmart land, Nike land, Gucci buys land in the Sandbox game. Sandbox is one of the creators of different worlds. Amazon, and these are just some examples. Last year November, a Canadian company called the Metaverse Group, has nothing to do with Meta, the Metaverse Group. They bought virtual property for $2.4 million. And when traveling down to this meeting, I thought, well, that was last year. I suddenly realized that I should know what has happened, because that's interesting. Did they fail? Did they succeed? And I don't remember this by heart, so I need to pick up my phone and I'd read it to what I found that was announced 2 or 3 days ago. Metaverse Group has leased out a total of 208 virtual real estate, equivalent to over 560,000 square feet of flat land across its Fashion Street estate in downtown Decentraland Properties. In addition to leasing the company's virtual land, the majority of tenants also use Metaverse Group for design and development of services. And this is quite amazing, because in quite short time, the way I see it, we're already seeing value going through almost the whole value chain. Even in August, we saw the Norwegian bank Sparebanken 1 buy property in the metaverse. They spent 800,000 NOK on it. And from what I read in an article, they don't really know what to do with it. But they just know that they want to be present and then be prepared to meet their customers in the metaverse. We've touched upon hardware, and there are different hardware manufacturers. I don't need to name them all. I also mentioned that Meta presented their MetaQuest Pro a couple of days ago. I have ordered it, and I'm keen to try it out and see how my facial expressions looks like in the metaverse, because this reads my face, amongst other things. But let's talk, before digging into what you're doing in your industry, there are lots of use cases already in the metaverse. We have surgery, where surgeon teams can prepare to do a complicated operation on beforehand, and they'd rather make mistakes while preparing than on the patient. And they can do that on the exact patient, a scanned version of the patient that they're operating on, about to operate on. Architects, construction industry, I know that there are businesses working on helping clients, patients with phobia to deal with their phobia. And one thing is to lie on a couch or sit in a chair and the psychologists tell you, well, if you're afraid of flying, you just need to fly. Just be there and think about happiness and summer. Now, they can both enter together and have the patient being confronted with their fears. And confront your fears is the best way to deal with phobia. Maintenance, different maintenance on difficult sites, diving or other heights, cultural learning experience, what have you. Anything you can imagine. We already see use cases. So key drivers, from my perspective, and crucial success factors. I've already mentioned innovation, the XR technologies, and we should see that gaming industry, they were first movers, but this is no longer about the gaming industry. And we have other enabling technologies that I mentioned, and hardware, software, and of course, something that you know all about, attractive content and applications. And I think crucial here are the millennials and the Generation Z and professional users. And Metaverse is already reaching out and attract these kind of users. Also something that at least Telenor knows a lot about, infrastructure, bandwidth, and computing power. Open standards, we've talked about open standards, interoperability. This is crucial for the metaverse because the idea behind the metaverse is that it should be seamless with reality, but also seamless in between worlds, in between applications. You can jump between worlds, you should be able to jump between applications, you should be able to use the same hardware and don't have the problem with different operating systems like Android, like iOS, or different hardware manufacturers. Capital, of course, funding, and not to say the least, trust. The user's trust. If this is not secured, it's not going to happen. Security, integrity, privacy, ethics. And the way I see it today, I'm thinking about those two areas specifically. I already see the innovation, it's there. Attractive content, it's huge sums of money being pushed in, researched on, driven also by demands. Open standards, I haven't highlighted, and I'll tell you in a minute why. Capital funding seems to be there. The big techs are investing lots of money. Other big companies are investing lots of money. What I certainly miss in Norway is a clear political will to support funding for startups in this area. Because if you read analysis for Europe, Norway is blank on the map when it comes to XR hubs for innovation. I know there are XR environments in Norway, but they're not noticed. And this, I'm not sure where we're going here. I'm positive because all are working on it, and we need all to join in and contribute in that discussion. When it comes to open standards and interoperability, there's a Metaverse Standards Forum. It was established in June this year by 35 founding members. By today, it's already about 1,000, well, soon up to 2,000 members. How many in here are members of that forum? Wonderful. 2. Great. I guess we're having a meeting later. Yeah, exactly. Looking forward to it. Well, just write it down. You can become a member through the website later tonight or tomorrow. Their goal is to make the metaverse seamless, built on open standards and total interoperability. For some reason, Apple is not a member here yet. So market potential, there are a lot of speculations here, and I, as no one else, can't give you an exact estimate. These are guesstimates. In a global perspective, we see analysis, McKinsey, they're almost close when it comes to around 2030. But you see expectations from $2 trillion up to $80 trillion. But there is great belief in what may happen. If we're looking at the European perspective, the Ecoris report from 2021 expects that by 2025, the value of the metaverse and the XR industries in Europe will be somewhere between 35 to 65 billion euros, and will have created 860,000 jobs. And there are, of course, also a lot of adoption studies that you could sort of find on the internet and more information on that. So, again, should you care? And I think so, of course. You're at the core. This is about immersive experiences. And what you want to do with your product offering is to give your consumers great experiences. And from my point of view, this will affect almost any aspect of your business. And it is happening now. Innovation, development, positioning are happening now. These are just examples of concerts that has taken place, Justin Bieber, Ariana Grande, where people from all over the world, huge amounts of spectators, join the concerts in the metaverse. Imagine having a concert for 2 million people, paying $20 each to watch the concert, and while watching the concert, in the virtual reality, they can sit together with their friends if they have the same headsets, and they can recognize each other, they can talk to each other, and with the technology being developed, with gloves and everything, what have you, I can't even imagine, they will be able to hold hands and feel like they're holding hands in reality. And your peers in the industry are positioning themselves as well. Hulu is positioning themselves as an employer brand to attract competence, because this is shortage, and this is something you need to consider. If you want to go here, if you want to take the challenge, how do you do it? And with what competence and resource? And Comcast, finance startups. It's a way to create partnerships and creative environments. There are a lot of examples of your peers entering into collaboration with the gaming industry. And Netflix. The other week, I was bored. I didn't want to watch Netflix on this anymore or on my iPad. I put on my Oculus set. They provide me with this magnificent mountain cabin. I had my whole space to myself. I could sit in the sofa in the virtual world and have the big screen in front of me. Is this anything you're thinking about for your products? So, from my perspective again, first of all, you're like any other business that will be confronted with these issues. You need to consider how the metaverse will impact your business. It's about interaction within your company, as an employer brand, and human resources. Next, of course, interaction with customers. The customer journey is essential. But how do you think about visualizing the customer journey for the customer? Not just getting him into the journey or her, to the end product, which is content. Content is king. I think the experience is going to be king with the content. Of course, product development then, product lines, service offerings, end features, and, as we've touched upon, competition and partnerships, both vertically and horizontally. So taking this a little bit more specific to your industry, but again, you're the experts, so you tell me. This is from an article written already in 2017, I think it was. Yeah, sorry about that. Which I think is still relevant. We're moving from observation to immersion, that it was, say, you don't just look at the screen anymore. There are reduced production costs, but still you can make higher quality. I'm not talking about higher quality content, if it's crappy or something good, but the quality of what you're seeing at a lower price. This means also that there are lower entry barriers. And you will all also see, and some of you has probably already seen, competitors coming in from adjacent markets. There are no boundaries between markets anymore either, or less. Some core considerations that I'd like to add myself, like I already mentioned, I think we're not leaving content as king, but focus should perhaps be experience as king, immersive experience, and what does that mean for your businesses? And how to combine traditional programming with immersive experiences, sometimes in a non-scripted, user-generated, simultaneous context. And what does that mean? With AI and machine learning, we don't just will be able to enter the metaverse and virtual realities and interact with friends and get to know people we don't know, socializing or business-wise. The system will also learn from what we do. We will have our own AI and machine learning. So the system will get to know us, and in that interaction, we will be able to create our own user-generated content as well. So how will that affect the customer journey? I already talked about that. And again, Camilla, I don't know if you're here anymore, even though it may be crap what they're doing, key will be how to capture millennials and Generation Z, because I'm sure what you know about these two groups are the most less loyal of your customers. They move around every day as it suits them to pick the series they want to see, ease of use, social media interaction, integration, and user-generated content. How to make your services attractive to them in the metaverse. And remember, this is happening now, positioning. It's a long-term perspective for big scale, probably. So, if you haven't thought about it already, it's a good sign that so many of you had heard about the metaverse. When I asked the same question giving a talk at Abela, which is the industry organization for knowledge companies in Norway in June, I asked the same question. How many had heard about the metaverse? Same amount of people, about 50, 60%. More of you knew it. How many had tried it? None. So if you haven't already, you need to get your head in the game and act now. You can start tonight to discuss with colleagues, you can discuss with me, but you need to start now. And seeing is believing is no longer the motto. Experience is believing. Thank you very much for your attention.